Craig, what's up, brother?
Almost shaking. How you doing?
Doing good, man. How are things on your end?
Puppies, dude. Puppies.
Yeah, how many did she have?
Well, I got a litter of 3 that's turning 7 weeks old tomorrow. I got a litter of 8 that turns 4 weeks old on Monday. And I got a litter of 4 that turns a week old Sunday, tomorrow.
Nice. And who are they off of?
For the 7-week-old litter is Swiper and Ebe. The litter coming 4 weeks old, that's Swiper and Lola. And then this the litter coming a week old, that's off of Hercules and Katana. That's my tri-litter.
Okay. I don't think I've ever seen Hercules or Katana. All good. I'll have you send me some good photos of what you want me to feature on the video after we get off the horn.
Okay. Yeah, I got some actually really good photos, and I just fucking cropped them next to each other, so I can make the pairs fucking line up. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah, sounds good. Where are you located? I'm
in northern Kentucky, Williamstown.
Okay. Nice.
Halfway from Cincinnati to Lexington. I got wrapped up in the greed of making as much money as possible in Wisconsin and just forgot to live a life. You know what I mean?
I totally understand.
Yeah.
I get where you're coming from.
Well, I mean, I was putting in 70 plus hours on site every week up there. I mean, it only benefited me, obviously, you know, as I was doing turnkey projects, general contractor, and you know, my other corporate business. I built everything myself, you know, me and my crew.
Yeah.
So it was just, man, running too lean workforce, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have any time for anything personal, let alone, you know, running lean with the dogs and everything, working that much.
So how many dogs do you have, not counting puppies, right now?
Well, I got 12 adult dogs here. I have co-owns, and I actually have a female. Man, I can't even tell you how many co-owns I have. I have a couple that matter and a couple that are like reserved. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like
if something were to happen to my picks off the litter, I can always use something else off the litter. I have breeding rights to tons of males that I've let go over the years, but I believe right now I got 12 adult dogs, and I got one being dropped off here either tonight or early in the morning that I just picked up from Arizona. So that'll be 13.
Nice. Tell me, I mean, we've talked before and we kind of went over this over Messenger, but for the people listening, tell your story. When did you start with dogs? How did you end up in the American Bully? How did you come up with the name for your kennel?
Well, man, I grew up in a little tiny small town in northern Wisconsin, and I'm not really a spring chicken, man. I'm pushing 40 years old here. I grew up a little different than most people know, you know, about nowadays. I started working on a farm at a young age. My grandfather had a farm and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of acres. I think when I was little, he had like 960 acres.
Wow.
So all my older cousins and uncles, they coon hunted. And I kind of got that bug with the hounds as a youngster. And I think I got my first hound at like 7 years old. My dad told me right away, you know, you're going to feed this dog. And I don't mean just walk out there and dump kibble in his bowl. I mean, you're going to go, you know, work for one of the local farms. Of course, I was 8 years old milking cows, you know what I mean? Had pedal my pedal bike up the road, 4:30 in the morning, mile and a half up, work for Danny Winter's farm there, milking cows before school every morning as a young boy. And then, I mean, I had every raccoon killed within walking distance of my house, which was, you know, a couple miles.
Nice.
Very fast. By the time I was 11, 12, my father let me get an old beat-up pickup truck. It was a 70 Ford F-100, and he helped me build a flat rack for it. We built a dog box for it, and I used to cruise around the neighborhood coon hunting, you know. I mean, there's worse things for a kid to do than spend time in the woods. You know what I mean? Even at night. So I competition coon hunted. I started showing dogs, actually. I started showing my own productions when I was 15 years old. And then on and on, I really got the bug for that competition hunting and the showing. And then when I was I believe I was 19, I had a hound by the name of Captain that started treating bobcats at night when I was coon hunting.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of lit the fire. Like, man, bobcats are cool. Like, nobody sees these. You know what I mean? This dog's catching them. And in speaking with other big game hunters, you know, they kind of told me, like, if you have a dog that can accurately trail and tree bobcats on a regular, like, that's a really odd thing to have. Bobcats don't have scent glands. Mm-hmm. So that really lit a fire under my butt as far as having something special. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So then I kind of got the fire lit on the big game thing, and coon hunting kind of took a back turn. And I started hunting plot dogs. I had English coon hounds at the time, and it was hard to find anything to breed them to as far as, you know, big game, cat, bear style dogs. Coon hounds and big game hounds are two totally different styles. Mm-hmm. So I started with the plots. I mean, I had 5 generations of my own productions of English dogs, jumped into the plots, started bear hunting super heavy, started cat hunting super heavy, started going out west, mountain lion hunting. And I actually guided for quite a few years, had quite a few record kills, and started dabbling in the game dogs in late 90s. And it just didn't pan out. They were too dog aggressive. It just, you know, more of a pet scenario. Was going to try and make grittier plots with them and see if I could kind of bust off and do my own thing. That backfired. Mm. And then I run into one of my buddies actually in like 2002, and he had the coolest looking dogs. He's like, man, these are pit bulls. And I'm like, boy, them aren't pit bulls. Right. You know, there's no way I have game dogs. You know, what are those? And he said, well, they're calling them like bully breeds. Mm-hmm. And kind of just started looking at them. Well, they were the old Razor's Edge dogs, some of the first. Yeah. You know, where they, you know, just cross bulldog with Staffy. So I snatched one up from him, and it had UKC registered paperwork, and I grabbed another one, and it was kind of a pet scenario, but I'd have a few litters here and there, and as the workforce diminished, I couldn't afford to hunt 9 months out of the year anymore and have my guys run my construction crews for me. So I kind of, you know, stepped away from the hounds and got deeper into the bullies. Just a passion of always having dogs. Like I always found huge gratification in training, raising, seeing your work, you know, as in the construction industry, you see your work come together in front of you. You know what I mean? Right. So I pushed into that, and I think I had 5 generations of those after 7 to 8 generations of plots. It depends on what way you look at the plot scenario as far as generations, but it was 7, possibly 8. My first generation was pretty much other people's dogs. You know what I mean? Right. So I started dabbling in those, and then I guess I to admit kind of in the nonchalant way, I tried to breed those bullies the same way I bred my hounds. Mm-hmm. And I ended up getting them a little too tight, and the aggression started to come out of them. Right. So I ended up kind of stepping away from that line of dogs, and that's where, at that time, those were the XLs before there were XLs. These were 90, 100-pound males. Yeah, you know, definitely. At top. That's actually when I first came into really wanting to get into dogs, was when Gaudy Line, Razor's Edge, etc. was first coming up. So I know exactly what you mean. Like today, that's considered an XL. Yeah. I mean, truly, like if we were to go by, you know, the quote unquote standard, they were more of a classic style dog, honestly, with just a little bit heavier bone. Right. Yeah, you know, they were large in comparison to an Amstaff or a pit bull. These were large dogs. Yes, and they had a significantly more blocky head. You know, they were cool looking dogs. It was the cat's ass back then. You know what I mean? Oh yeah, definitely. So then, I started trying to find a way, like, I need to incorporate something else. I need to get bigger. I want bigger dogs. And I reached out to a friend of mine from down at the time. I believe he was living in he was in Louisiana, and he hooked me up with some people. And actually, prior to that, I was scanning Facebook, and came across Amy Crowley, who is Deja Blue Pit Bulls. Mm-hmm. And that's where I got Athena. Athena's now 6 years old. She'll be 7 here real soon. I picked up Athena. That was one of Amy's. I believe that's her 2nd generation production. Maybe first. I'm not sure, but it was right when she had kind of got off too. And at that point, I was completely hooked. That was exactly what I was looking for. The next step above what I actually was producing myself. Mm-hmm. you know. And Athena, she's not a real extreme large dog. She's 19 inches. She stays to be between 112 and 118 pounds steady. I mean, but she's a bull, you know. I mean, you can look at her and you're like, damn. So from that point, I bought Swiper as a pup. I got in contact with Chris Thornton, who is Bayou Bully Kennels. We developed a friendship. You know, I fell in love with his boy, XB Diesel. Diesel is still to this day my absolute favorite dog, man. That dude was just a beast. Mm. And I ended up booking a pup. He had some litters coming up, and I said, man, I want the biggest, tightest skin, muscle bound male that looks just like Diesel, you know? Mm. So we went through it. I decided what cross I wanted, and I sent him a big deposit before, you know, after he did the breeding and confirmed it. And as soon as they were born, I cashed them out, and it kind of began that way. When I picked up the 3 dogs that pretty much formed my foundation, I picked up a female named Sage, which would also be as you would, you know, I'm not sure if the listeners will know, but that's Peggy B and Cheddar Bob and Cujo and Floyd. That's all their moms. Okay. So Sage ended up being one of the biggest influences in my program, as well as Athena and obviously Swiper. But the interesting story behind Sage, I think everybody kind of cocked their head at a little bit. The man had that female booked to breed to Swiper. And I had never seen her. I just looked at her pedigree. I was like, yes, this will line up, you know, rocking. She third, fourth, and fifth generation. Her third generation, behind her, there's some ICK dogs. Fourth generation is all solid ICK dogs. Fifth generation, same exact thing. And that, in my opinion, him and Oliver De La Cruz, Roman and Oliver De La Cruz kind of kicked off the XL movement. Mm-hmm. You know, they started producing the real first big dogs and putting them on the public. So I was like, yes, I want that original blood on my yard, which is some of the same, you know, like Swiper had some of that behind them. So we hooked up a pup back deal, and the man called me and just said, hey, you know, I'm in some money trouble. I got kicked out of my house. I've been living in a hotel for 2 weeks. Can you come and, you know, maybe get this dog? Do you have any money? You know, I'm hurting for money. And those are the wrong things to say to me when you're trying to get money. If you're hurting for money, you know what I mean? Like, just tell me what you want for a dog. Right. So I went all the way out to the western part of Wisconsin, and this guy pulled this poor dog out of the van, man, and she was like 71 pounds, skin just peeling off her, no hair, ear mites, fleas, urinary tract infection. Like, she was just a cesspool of neglect. Right. And I felt horrible. I handed the man $600, put her in the back of my truck, and headed back. I was absolutely disgusted. I pumped a bunch of money into her at the vet, brought her right to my vet from out there, let her stay there overnight. They pounded fluids in her, kind of got her straight, ended up putting her on a whole arsenal of meds. And by the time she was back in shape, tip-top shape, she was 110 pounds. So 40 pounds underweight when I got her. Wow. Kind of a weird story how she went on to produce one of the more successful crosses in the XL community. You know what I mean? Right. Jeez. Okay. Now, as we were talking about before, the XLs of today are obviously different than, say the XLs of back then. So where do you think the split actually took place? Because the more I look through like Facebook, all the dog groups, and I don't know everything. Everybody thinks I do because of my channel. I don't know everything. All I'm doing is studying something and then relaying my findings to people on a video. You know? Yeah. Now, as we were saying before, like the old dogs, like I had some gaudy stuff. I had some edge stuff. Wasn't nobody popular, you know, just dogs that I had that were UKC dogs. And that's what you would consider. And I agree, classic / XL from back then, you know? Yeah. Where do you think those are the big dogs of the breed? Right. Then. Where do you think the split actually took place? Man, as far as a time frame, I mean, truth be told, there were some red dogs, believe it or not, that were being produced that were 110, 120 pounds, you know, back before the movement really started taking place. But I think like Oliver De La Cruz and Roman, they kind of started hitting it hard. Like and I would say shortly after 2000, I mean, in that area, because they started really getting popular in that 2000 to 2010 generation. You know what I mean? In that decade. Obviously, the breed's been around for a while, but I believe that's when all the changes took place. You know, as far as adding the size, sneaking the hidden gems into the pedigrees. You know what I mean? Getting them to be true XL American bullies. And it did, you know, I actually, you know, now that I say that, I'm sure it started taking place before that, because they had to regulate what they did as far as crossing out to other breeds to get some consistency before they could start putting it out for, you know, on the market.
Right.
So I'm sure they started probably in the late 90s, you know, and got a couple generations under their belt before they started kind of stashing them into the pedigree. And that's, I mean, I think that's one thing we should probably touch on too, honestly, is
go for it. Well, before we do that, let me ask you this. And it's only because I don't know. Now the questionable ADBA lines, Whopper, and things in that lane that were supposedly American Pit Bull Terriers, but they were obviously some sort of Mastiff cross with American Pit Bull Terrier. They definitely had some input on the early XL, correct?
Absolutely. Like Whopper and the old Genghis Khan dogs, they were huge influences. West Coast started they started the movement. Obviously, it all kind of comes from out there and moves its way east, you know.
Right.
But yeah, Whopper was an F1 cross. He was half Mastiff. You know, there's well, I don't know if Whopper was. Butthead was half Mastiff. Whopper definitely had some serious Mastiff influence behind him. He was absolutely huge. I don't know that you could do that in one generation.
Right.
You know, add that type of size increase in one generation. But I know Butthead Lights Out, he was half Mastiff, and he's in a lot of dogs' peds. The Whopper dogs, man, them were some big sumpters for a long time. You know, I think those, in my personal opinion, now I can't say this factual, but in my personal opinion, I believe those were just a big band dog line that pretty much got papered as American Pit Bull Terriers.
Well, as far as what I've found, I know they worked like a band dog. Like, I know they, like, you know, I've been, I'm more in the band dog lane myself more than any other breed, but, you know, by our standard, you got to work to be called a band dog. But I know the Whopper dogs, the Butthead dogs, all those dogs would bite the shit out of you. These were nasty dogs. So
and they come from like the working Mastiff lines. I mean, that's where that comes from, you know. Right.
I'm sorry. What did you just say we should touch on? What was that?
Oh, the creation of it. What's really here? So I feel, in my opinion, there's a big misconception here. You know, now it's getting regulated back down to be that way, but the whole companion breed thing, the way these dogs were created, as you just touched on, some of those dogs will bite out of you, correct?
Definitely.
You know, I mean, Roman's dogs, all those ICK dogs, those were heavy watchdog, heavy gray line with Presa, Corso, you know, all Molosser breeds crossed into them. Those are known to be protection breeds, working breeds.
Right.
You know, so with that being said, like 2 + 2 = 4. People expect these dogs just to come in and lay on their couch and be like a floor ornament and stuff. That's not the case with a lot of the lines of these dogs.
Right.
Okay. So some of the stuff that, and I'm not saying those specific lines are super aggressive or anything like that. I'm saying a tired dog is a happy dog.
Yeah.
You know?
For sure.
So if you have, you know, I mean, that's kind of common sense. So you get a dog that's bouncing off the walls, we'll go work them, make them chase a four-wheeler or something. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. Flirt pole, even a ball, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're in the city, you do spring pole, flirt pole, whatever you want. You know, I'm fortunate enough to have a bunch of land, and I can cruise around. I can run the hell out of my dogs. You know.
Right.
But now, I personally my personal opinion, I like those dogs with a little bit of pep to them. I like a bigger, extreme featured athletic dog. That's not for everybody. Right. But I mean, the way everything was created, and it's the same with Oliver De La Cruz, those lines, like those were working dogs, you know?
Right.
Look at Dragon. He was a weight pull champion. You know, I have Heavy Pitts Hummer in some of my dogs. He was also a national weight pull champion. You know, that should tell somebody that, hey, these dogs like to work. You know what I mean?
Right.
These aren't just a companion. These are a highly athletic, you know, dog that needs some sort of work. Granted, in my opinion, the color game kind of changed that and dociled the dogs down a little bit. More heavy bulldog, more, you know, whatever they used for the tri-gene.
Yeah, we were gonna get to that. I planned on getting to that because as much as I've kept up with you on these bully groups, and every time I see you go live, I'm like, who's he mad at now? And and every time I listen, because I'm like, man, this dude, I mean, we've talked on Messenger before all that, and I was like, this guy like knows dogs, like knows especially this area of dogs. So who's he pissed at and why? We gotta so I'd stop and watch your live for a little bit and see, you know, and you'd smoke a full pack of cigarettes before getting to the end of it.
just hyped right up. I mean, it is something that, as you can see, you know, I'm extremely passionate about it.
And I totally respect that, because I think passion, enthusiasm, and work ethic have left the game, whereas just dollar signs have entered. And it's sickening to me. And that's the reason why, that's the exact reason why I decided I'm fed up. I don't want no more. I'm going to go the band dog route. You and I can count the other people on one, maybe two hands that I say, okay, I like what they're doing. And if I were to ever get a dog that in the bully game, maybe from them. On two hands or less. And it's like... It's intimidating now. You know what I mean? Because everybody's a liar. You know? Yeah.
And I appreciate. I'm grateful to be on that list. I mean,
totally. Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, and I won't get personal on this interview with. But people would be surprised who I wouldn't go to. People would be surprised at who I wouldn't go to, because a lot of these people that are supposed top dogs in this whole thing, I would never buy a dog from them.
Absolutely. I fully agree with that. I understand, and I fully understand that. Like, I do come across a little strong. I am a little passionate. I am outspoken. I am headstrong. But damn, man, I'm a bucket full of knowledge. You know what I mean?
But it's something you love. Like, don't apologize for that. Screw that, dude. That's something you love. It's you get the people, and I'll tell you what, there's a difference. You have the people that are good at marketing. You have the people who are good at producing puppies, and you have dog men. Yeah. There's the three things you have in this community. Well said.
So if you can't find that dog man, you're going to be buying pups from a marketer, a puppy producer, or just somebody who's flinging semen in a dog because it's pretty to pretty. Right. You know, I don't make a living off these dogs. I never intended on making a living off these dogs. Do I charge a penny for my dogs? Absolutely. You're going to pay a good price to get some of my hard work, you know, but that's the thing. Like, I'm not out here breeding these dogs and selling litters. I'm out here breeding dogs, keeping pups for my program, and selling what's left over that I'm not keeping, you know? So there's purpose for everything that I do program wise. And truth be told, to correlate with what you just said, I've been pet homing most of my most of the pups that I'm not keeping because I don't want people breeding my stuff because of the turn that you spoke of.
Yeah, I mean, it's like there is no shortage of dogs out here. So it's like, if I can do anything that, you know, me and my wife have been back and forth on it for, I mean, since we've been married. Talking about, dude, I don't want to just produce dogs. I want dogs because, you know, I'm worried about the zombies. Okay. I want a survival dog. I want something that can move and work and bite and, you know, still be a couch potato with my kids. But there's a time and a place for that. And that's after the dog's tired, like you said earlier.
Yeah. And you gotta have, and I fully agree with that. Me myself, as you know, I prefer a dog that I don't want to say some fire because then everybody's going to take it totally out of context, but I like a dog with some pep in their step. Yeah. I like a dog with some natural instincts that is not scared to run around, that is smooth, functional, big, muscular, freaky, correct dog. I like to work my dogs. I prefer to have working dogs. I don't like lazy dogs.
Right.
That's just my style. Do I produce some lazy dogs? I mean, it happens.
Right.
But
Totally.
with that being said, as a whole, I prefer my dogs to be just that way. I have a couple that'll do a whole bunch of bite work. I have some very, very decent dogs that are I wouldn't say highly protection trained, but they will bite on command. They will, they will sit, they will protect, they will watch, they will do, their job, what I have them for.
Right.
And that's just my personal preference. It doesn't have to be the same for everybody. Are most of my dogs housebroke? Absolutely. 90% of my dogs are housebroke.
Right.
A lot of people that come to my yard, they can't believe, like, there's no way this dog will protect anything. And I'm like, just rub them wrong.
Yeah.
Rub them wrong, or let me say the wrong thing or the right thing to them, and you'll see a whole different animal come out.
Yeah.
And that's what I like,
Yeah, a dog that's clean, correct, not afraid. And I don't mean like full on a vicious, uncontrollable animal. I mean a dog that's interested, not intimidated. Like, and when it actually comes down to it, I don't care whether it's a man, a hog, whatever the hell it is. If it's a threat, the dog's not going to stop.
Yeah. The dog will step in between it.
The happy medium, basically.
Yeah. And that switch that you're referring to, I mean, I need a distinct on-off switch. I have a daughter. My last relationship, she had 2 children. I mean, these dogs do have to be well behaved. I would never jeopardize anybody's child around anything like that. That wasn't completely trustworthy to me. Mm-hmm. So. I mean, there's definitely an on-off switch. Are these dogs pets? Ultimately, yes, absolutely, 110% they are. But at the same time, they're purposeful pets. Yeah. There's things that I require of them, and if they do not meet those requirements, they do not stay in my yard. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's just the way I operate it. But with that being said, all these traits go back to what was made or what was used to make these dogs. You know what I mean?
100%.
They're not true companions. Are some of them? Yeah. Okay. They calmed some of them down over the years. Do I like that personally? No, man. I still run the old blood.
Right. That's the best way to do it, in my opinion. Yeah, I prefer the old stuff.
So I mean, the color game changed the temperament, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Okay. From what I've seen, and I've seen more than most care to see. So. I mean, when the tri-game started coming out hard, the tricolored dogs, that obviously changed temperament. Those are more docile dogs for the most part, as a whole, Yeah. Now you got the Merle fad,
Don't get me started. It's fun. I got friends. I do have friends that dabble in it, and I don't want to down them because they are some good people, but to the people that are Merle to Merle, that's an obvious issue. You're gonna create issues. Merle
to white.
Yeah, exactly. Merle to white. I completely stay away from it. If I have a choice, if I ever see, if it might be something I breed to in the band dog program, if there's Merle anywhere in there, I'm like, nah, let's see what else you got.
Yep, and I am the same way. I actually have it in my contract. You cannot buy a pup for me and breed it to Merle.
Yeah,
you absolutely cannot.
Yeah,
none of my productions can be bred to Merle, and that's just, again, that's my personal preference.
Right.
And my reasoning for this, which everybody will understand this once I actually put it this way, man, you don't need a nice dog to get a Merle.
Right.
You can go breed to a narrow, peaky or snipey muzzled, narrow-headed Dorito chip looking dog because it's Merle. Breed a nice female to him, pay a $500 stud fee, and you accomplish your goal because that Merle dog is obviously going to throw Merle pups.
Right.
So, I mean, is the Merle game improving? I'll give them that. There are a few decent breeders who are trying to create something different than what everybody else is. But man,
but that's very few though. That's very few that are doing it correctly.
Oh, definitely. Maybe 3.
Yeah, I was gonna say 3 maybe that I've heard of so far. And to my listeners, no disrespect to the Merle community, it's just not my flavor, and I wouldn't risk my program with it.
Absolutely. And I guess what a lot of people are uneducated about, and there's studies back and forth, and you're only going to get the information from the certain crowd that you're studying and asking opinion from. But
right,
my first repro vet was a 30-year corgi breeder, and she is one of the most intelligent. She actually runs revival.com, revivalanimalproducts.com. So I've spent countless hours with this woman. You wouldn't even understand the amount of time I spent with this woman. And the things she taught me, the documents she showed me, the studies that she showed me, old school studies on the Merle gene, like just turned my stomach about it. Number one, it's a mutant gene, so it never stops changing. Mm-hmm. Okay. Everybody thinks it's a color pattern. No, it's a pigment issue. Mm-hmm. Okay. So with that being said, like that it's a mutant gene, it will change. A lot of these dogs, as they get older, that's when the faults start coming out. In the bully community, there isn't enough Merles old enough for them to realize the faults that come out, if that makes sense to people. As they age, things happen. I've been seeing a lot of more, I call them mutant puppies because that's kind of what they are, but I've been seeing a lot of pups come out of Merle litters just, and they sell them. I don't want to sound like an animal abuser or nothing, but that's where the old school mentality of the game dog breeders and the old school breeders, like they would call those type of animals.
Yeah, they would have to. I mean, as soon as they seen the faulty gene, you can't even put that off into a pet home because you're risking. Like,
you're just giving somebody a big vet bill. Why the hell would you want to do that?
Right. So there's really nothing you can do with that. And, and that's the hard truth. That's what I think a lot of people lack as well. Not only that it's dollar signs over everything, but also that a lot of people that want to be involved in the dog game cannot face the hard truths of actually being a breeder.
Yeah, the decisions that have to be made behind closed doors that don't need to be spoken about.
Right, exactly.
In today's day and age, everybody kind of a little soft about things, so it's hard to talk about that stuff, especially on like a public channel like this.
Right.
But there are decisions that have to be made by true dogmen, that ultimately society frowns upon. Mm-hmm. So if you're not prepared to do that, you're getting into the wrong business. Like, yeah.
And what I would say to him is, hey, go visit a cow farm or a horse farm. You'll see the same thing.
Yes.
And nobody frowns upon that. Nobody frowns upon that just because not many people know about that.
Exactly.
But I mean, that's the truth in a nutshell.
Yeah, and it really is. Like, breeding programs, they go up and down. There's risks, there's rewards, and there's lots of heartache. Mm-hmm. And that's the part that most people don't look by. They think, I'm going to go spend $10,000 with this guy, I'm going to spend $10,000 with this guy, and I'll be able to get $5,000 pups. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, that's not the way it will ever work. Mm-hmm. Marketing, branding, there's a million different things. You can't just take pretty dog to pretty dog. You have to match them up physically. You have to match them up with their blood, their pedigrees. You also have to know where those secrets are held in those peds to understand the variables that could come out in those pedigrees, or with the cross from those pedigrees. You have to understand the flaws that come with them. These big Molosser breeds that are crossed in here, there's some hip, there's some heart issues, some elbow issues. It goes back and forth. There's a million different styles of these XLs. There's zero consistency in it. So you have that much more variables in it. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's that much more things that can go wrong, as well as that many things that can go right. So it's an equal risk, wrong or right, until you actually know until you can actually obtain all the knowledge it takes to appropriately work the lines that you're using.
Right. That makes sense.
And, to be truthful, man, not a lot of people want to put in that type of work.
Exactly.
And I mean, that, in my opinion, that's what's showing in today's XL American bully community.
And there was a time where I spent, weeks on these XL bully boards and just listening to people talk. And another thing is, what kind of drove me away was listening to somebody say one thing 1 minute and then another thing another minute. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh yeah.
It seems like the game is just, like I said, you and a handful of other people are just, straight shooting, just trying to produce and sell some good dogs, while these other people, I don't know, man, it really made me uncomfortable. And I was like this close. I was this, yeah, I was this close, man. It was me and my wife were actually sitting here like, well, why don't we go into our savings and buy an XL, see what happens. If it works the way we want it to work, maybe we'll get into the XL game. But we this was 3 years ago, probably 4 years ago, and we ended up just like, what, it's kind of not even worth the risk right now. Like, let's wait till this shit clears up a little bit, well,
and I guess the actual the shitty part about the XLs, and I'll be completely blunt about this, and it doesn't matter if people like it or not, it's the truth. The XL breed was just forming some regularity and some consistency when the Merle fad hit.
And it screwed everything up. Yeah. Things
were just starting to stabilize. And then all of a sudden, here comes three other breeds added to our community, and people lying about paperwork and everything. And it turned my stomach completely away. That was kind of, and everybody's excuse, well, all these bullies are paper hung. Okay, well, what I call the forefathers, you know what I mean? What the creators of this breed did was created a breed. Okay, flat out. They created something for us to work with. That doesn't mean we have to keep adding to it. That doesn't make it all right to continue to do it again. Every breed was created from multiple breeds being bred together. Okay, that doesn't mean you continue to do that.
Right.
That it's not a breed if you continue to add other breeds to it and change the DNA and the genetic makeup of these dogs.
Right. The entire XL American Bully could have been refined by now. Mm-hmm. I mean, it might have been another step. It might have been added to the UKC by now, for all we know. As far as I know they already have the American Bully, but the XL American Bully might have been there already.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I've spoken personally to the vice president of UKC many times over the course of the past 6 years about how we can break it down into classes. And that's another thing that the community doesn't want to come together for. I mean, he's told me multiple times, man, all you have to do is have everybody take 1 minute and 30 seconds out of their day, send us an email requesting the classes to be broke down, and recommend at least one person to write the breed standards for one class. Well, here's the thing about that. And I'm not honking my horn in any which way, shape, or form. I'm just using myself as a reference because you and I are talking.
Right.
So you could take a man with some great knowledge of the breed and be like, I want him to write the standards of the XL. Well, if somebody doesn't like me, which, there's plenty that don't,
right,
they're going to be like, no, I don't want him writing the standards for the XL breed because he's just going to match his dogs. Well, that's not the case. You know what I mean? Like,
right. I
know what the XL American Bully should look like. Do I have the epitome of that? No, I don't have the identical epitome of that. I do have. I'm very close to it, but I don't want that exact. I like a bigger version of that. Okay?
I really respect that. I really respect that. Wise dog man told me once, if anybody ever tells you his dogs are perfect, he's not a good breeder, because every real dog man is looking at his dogs like, they could be better in this area, be better in this area. Do I got some good ones, some great ones? Yeah, but they can improve here, they can improve here.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like this, Eric. Like, I have some, you can tell what's on my yard. You know what I mean? I mean, I go through when people come over. I guess one of my things that I pride myself on is I'm absolutely transparent. Like, I'll tell you, if you ask me, why do you breed these two dogs together? I'll break it down. Like, this one lacks that, this one lacks that, this one has this influence behind it, this one has this influence behind it. Mm-hmm. You combine them together, you get that much more of a bigger tool. Mm-hmm. You get that much more of a bigger tool or a better tool to it. And, you can use that into the next generation of this, that, and the other thing. I mean, it's a process. Every animal you create is a tool to get you to where you're exactly going. No, none of my dogs are perfect. None of them are even close to perfect. All of them have really good strong points. All of them have minimal weak points because I've selectively kept certain dogs for certain reasons. But with that being said, like being completely transparent about what you have, what you're doing, and everything should be a necessity for everybody.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, I can give you a perfect example. My friend Corey Chapman come over here, and the first time he was at my house, I mean, I ripped my whole yard apart. I was like, man, that dog lacks this. That's why she goes to that. That dog lacks this. That's why she goes to that. He lacks this. That's why he's going to her. You know,
Right.
and I mean, Corey called up one of our close friends, and he's like, man, like, I never expected to have that conversation with him. Like, I figured, you know, from what I've seen of Craig, he's always like, oh, no, man, this litter's going to be awesome. And he's like, I get there, and he's like, well, this dog, you know, her rear is trash. So, you know, that comes from this part of her pedigree. So we water that down, but keep these positive traits from that part of the pedigree. And, you know, I mean, it's so in depth that people don't look past this pretty dog being bred to this pretty dog.
Right. Now I already, you know, I said a wise dog man once told me, but then every good dog man I come across who's really invested in his dogs, I noticed there's an honesty in all of them, no matter what breed. And I've talked to a lot of breeders from a lot of different breeds, and I noticed the people who are truly involved are fully transparent. And this is not something that is just for the here and now. People are going to talk about what you've done for 20, 30 years into dog history. So that's the best way to do it. I fully agree.
Well, absolutely. I mean, we're all here. It's not what you create while you're here. It's what lives on after you're gone. That's something my grandfather always told me, and that stuck with me for years and years and years. Yeah. And that's kind of where I'm at. Will I make a positive impact? Man, and I'll just keep it like this. You don't have to like me personally. You don't have to like me professionally. You don't have to like me in any which way, shape, or form. But you can't disrespect what I've done with these dogs. You know what I mean? Like the whole principle on it. Nobody can look at me and say, oh, he's just breeding for this reason or for that reason or making money or whatever. Man, I'm breeding to actually make an impact in the breed, make a healthier, stronger, more solid, athletic, extreme featured American bully with size.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the least amount of flaws, the better. Obviously, is the ultimate goal for everybody. But I prefer, like I said, I prefer a more functional dog. I want you to be able to take my pup to the beach and not have to worry about anything, not have him on a leash, be able to command him to stay, let him run out, swim all day with you, go home, chase the four-wheeler down, whatever, and then go lay in bed with your daughter, your 3-year-old daughter at the end of the night and snore his night away.
Right. That's the perfect
ultimately,
dog.
Yeah, ultimately that's what I strive to produce in and out, you know. It's just most people, like you said, they blink, they see dollar signs. That's not what it's about to me. I actually, and here's something not a lot of people know with everything that goes around about me. Every single litter, I seek out somebody that I have some sort of a semi-relationship with. Okay. And I know that my dog will have a good home with them. And if they're not financially well off or whatever it may be, I will give them a pup at a bottom low dollar rate. Like, here's your shot. Then nobody ever give me a break for anything in my life. I'm going to do this for you because I want to, solely because I want to.
Right.
You know, and I've done it for multiple people. I'm not going to name any names, but one particular woman, she does breed. She shows dogs actively, everything. And she's got to be, I believe she's mid-50s. She had some bad things happen to her world female, like everything about her revolved around this female. And she got spayed on the table after having 2 pups die inside of her. And I felt awful, just absolutely awful about it, you know, and she was supposed to breed that female to Swiper. So that was right before I had the Swiper Athena litter. And I said, listen, I have a pile of pups in this female. Like, I know what you're looking for. I know what you want. Let me hand pick a pup for you, and this is what I'll give it to you for. Mm-hmm. You know, I raised that pup. It was 9 weeks old when I sent it with Ken Sager to go up there. She got up there. That woman called me the next day in absolute tears. Like, I cannot believe you know this dog and knows her name. She started housebreaking already. She's the most confident, intelligent little pup. I'm forever indebted to you. There's no amount of money that could ever buy that feeling. More people could honestly just look at it that way. Like, I don't, you know, I'm not like honking my own horn or anything, but man, it's not, at the end of the day, it's not the money you make, it's the lives you change while you're here. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Be kind, be courteous. You know, and I know that's hard. That's kind of hard to believe coming with me, because I tend to call people out the way it is. But it is what it is. If you can't, ultimately, at the end of the day, if your customer service is 110%, and you can't give a person what they want, then what are you doing?
Right.
You know, I mean, and one thing a lot of people don't know about me too, Eric, is I send people away. I ask people when they hit me up for dogs, what are you looking for? Describe your perfect dog. If I don't have it, I'm going to recommend you to somebody who can provide that for you.
Right.
You know, it's not about selling a pup to me. Man, I'll happily spread home the whole litter. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter to me. I'm not in the business of selling hopes and dreams. I'm in the business of providing exactly what this customer wants, including all of my knowledge and experience at their fingertips. Oh, the one thing I did miss that you asked me, I do got to touch base on, because a lot of people question it. My kennel name. So I had a kennel name for many, many, many years with my hounds and everything else, and my first batch of bullies kept that name. Okay. When I got into these big dogs, this female Athena, she is a product of a half brother, half sister cross, and her drivey traits are pretty concentrated. Mm-hmm. So the way I came up with the white knuckle bullies was simple. I mean, not a lot of people will get this unless you actually drove in the stuff, but I grew up in northern Wisconsin. So we always used to say, like, when the weather got bad, like, oh, grandma's white knuckle in the steering wheel, you know, hanging on for dear life. You know what I mean? When you squeeze something real hard and the color goes out of your knuckles.
Yeah.
Well, that's what it's like holding on to some of my dogs. Like, I mean, I'm not saying they're out of control or they're not obedient, but when I have somebody hold one of my dogs and it started with Athena, and I grab the tugger rope or the bite sleeve or something, you're going to be beyond white knuckling that leash.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. That's what I wanted to know. I'm like, does he mean that they all have white paws? Does it mean? And then I thought about the driving reference, you know, because it's like, you know, just don't drive around with white knuckles. Be relaxed when you're driving, you know, and I thought maybe that had something to do with it, but okay, that makes sense. If you're holding that leash, you got white knuckles. Yep.
That's awesome. I mean, and that it dawned on me one day. I was actually watching Athena drag my 4-year-old daughter across the yard. There was snow on the ground, about 8 inches of snow on the ground, and my daughter had all her snowsuit and her snow pants and everything on, and she was trying to walk Athena, and I called Athena, just goofing around, you know what I mean, to see what would happen. Yeah. And my daughter Macy held onto that leash, and Athena literally drug her about 20 yards across the driveway on her back. And I was like, I told her, I'm like, you look like grandma white knuckle in the steering wheel, you know? And that kind of stuck right there. And I think Athena was only like 8 months old at the time. But yeah, that pretty much that kicked it off, and it stuck, you know.
Yeah. No, that's cool.
And I do. There's, you know, I'm blessed enough to have a son of Athena and a daughter of Athena here on the yard, and they're absolutely no different. I love them. That's another thing that I find so gratifying. You can get generations down and look back and be like, damn, I remember that dog's great grandfather, and man, does he just, you know, he resembles him in every personality trait he has. And I mean, to me, that's neat. You know, when you can recreate things over and over again and still see where you began through your process in every single animal. Mm-hmm. Like, to me, that's extremely gratifying.
For sure. Definitely. So, moving forward, what are your plans?
Well, as far as my overall plans, I'm right at the breaking point of being at the end. I don't want to say the end game, but the end look that I was originally striving for. I've created a couple in my last couple litters over the course of the past probably 2 years. Mm-hmm. I've gotten a handful out of every litter and I was like, yes, that's it right there. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So now I just kind of have to iron down the consistency a little bit, and my look is locked in. I mean, I do produce some phenomenally consistent litters, but I need mirror images.
Right.
I mean, you know, like I strive for greatness. I always have. So that's where I'm at. My ultimate goal here, within the next little bit, I have an arsenal of swiper daughters. I didn't tell anybody, but I don't know if you caught that. I had Mayhem semen sent for Peggy B's last heat, and it ended up getting caught up because of that snowstorm that blew across the south.
Mm-hmm.
So it was either make a split decision or jump her heat again. I ended up breeding her. I'm not going to announce the male yet, but that breeding right there, I've been trying to get pups off of her. Her first breeding didn't take. Ultimately, I need to bring her pup back to her daddy, swiper, and lock in, you know, certain traits and go out from there. So this year, that is the goal: get these pups off peg, get them rolling, and about, you know, within 2 years, I'll be able to complete that. I have an arsenal of swiper daughters that I'm breeding this year. Get some productions down. I'm sure I'll take some of them back to swiper, and I'm actually going to be doing a half brother, half sister cross this year with swiper pups. Yeah, I mean, I'm getting to that point where it's definitely all the work is paying off. Like
You're
right
starting
now,
to get that uniformity.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's
yep,
cool.
that mirror image consistency. So
I'm
now
happy to hear
what I'm
that,
doing,
man.
and I mean, I'll even let it out. What I'm doing, I've been all over the United States, man. I've seen and been on a lot of yards. I've seen a lot of guys' best dogs, and I'm not cutting on anybody, and I'll give credit where it's due. Swiper was produced by Chris Thornton, and I'm going to tell you right out, man, I've never seen a dog with a rear like that, ever, yet, still to this day. I mean, just perfection, huge mass. Does he lack a tiny bit of angulation? Yeah, he could use some more angulation. Well, I don't really know when I saw that couldn't.
Right.
So that's pretty much where that's at. But as far as mass, structure, just the cleanest, peppiest gait, I call him Prancer. He prances around so proud. His booty, man, he got the booty game unlocked. So that's my end game goal, is to make sure I can keep that rear on everything else, and the rest of it's pretty easy to manipulate.
Right. Headpiece, shoulders, chest, everything.
Yep. That stuff comes pretty easy with the line of dogs that I run. But that rear is always a questionable thing, you know. And
yeah, especially with larger dogs.
Absolutely. And I mean, I breed pretty tight. I always have, and I always will. So that's one thing. I don't know if you've noticed, all the males that I use off of my yard, anything that I step off and use outside of my yard, all the males are inbred. I take away the variables, man. This is what I want. This is what I'm trying to achieve. I'm going to use an inbred male to achieve it, because I know there isn't many variables. I'm going to get those traits from him.
Well, let me ask you this, because I think I have an idea of what you mean. So an inbred male pretty much has the likable traits locked in, correct? Like more locked in than a line bred or outcross, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because if you breed to a male that's a product of a half brother, half sister cross, you only have what variables? 50% variables, because 50% are exactly the same, right?
Right. Okay.
So that's kind of, you know, and if you know what you're looking at, and you know what you're looking for, you should easily obtain that with that one cross.
Mm-hmm.
And if you happen to lose it, well, you can go right back to it, you know.
Here's a question: what do you feed your dogs?
I was feeding Nutrisource up there in Wisconsin. Nutrisource Performance Blend. It's in an orange bag. And I absolutely loved it. Like, I could feed my dogs. I got some big ass dogs, as you know, 130, 140 pounders, 145,
right,
some of them. But I'd feed them 8 cups a day, the bigger ones. And in the wickedest Wisconsin winters, when we'd have, 5-6 days straight of weather never hitting above zero, they would still maintain their weight and even pack on a pound or two with 8 cups. So I moved down here, and I couldn't find it. And then when I could find that particular dog food, it was so damn expensive that I was better off just feeding 100% raw, I felt, Yeah. So I'd switched over to Sport Mix. And I fed that up until actually I just went and got a load of dog food the other day. And I noticed we had a cold snap here in Kentucky for about 2 weeks. And I was, excuse me, feeding my dogs twice as much. I was feeding them 16 cups a day. And I have indoor-outdoor setups. They're out of the weather. They're warm. You know what I mean? They have insulated homes. They have plenty of bedding, everything like that. There's no lack of care definitely here. But I noticed they were dropping weight, dragging down. Mm-hmm. I was like, man, this just isn't right. I'm feeding them twice as much. And then I started noticing their stool was like sandy. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like actually sandy, not just loose, but like sandy. So their body stopped processing whatever they were using in that kibble. Mm-hmm. Stop getting nutrients. So I'm currently switching right back to Nutrisource, and I can see the difference in them. You can damn near see it immediately. I started adding some raw to pep them back up, satin balls, and some Blue Ridge beef premix stuff, which actually you can probably get because it's out of Georgia. So if you ever want raw, look into that.
Okay.
But that comes in 2-pound tubes, and it's really cheap. There's different blends. So I was just supplementing with that, and that carried them through the cold snap. Well, now it's back up, 55 degrees, 60 degrees here, and I'm just trying to get them back to normal. I mean, they all probably dropped. All my dogs that are in and out of the kennel, they probably dropped 10 pounds, man. It was rough. So
right.
Sports Mix, I don't know what happened. I know they had that recall that everybody knows about. I did get a little affected by it. I had 2 dogs get sick. But other than that, it was out of one plant. So I didn't think anything of it. Like, I'm going to keep feeding this kibble. Whatever works, stick with it. Well, then, like, no shit, I can't even lie about it. Right at that time, I noticed a change in my dogs.
Right. Okay.
So, yeah, Nutrisource is a good kibble. It depends. There's some really good kibbles. Origin is a phenomenal kibble, but it's expensive. Mm-hmm. Nutrisource is not that cheap anymore either. I did actually, my wholesaler for dog food sent me home with some stuff called Tuffy's Gold. Tuffy''S Gold. It's a 26-18 blend, and it's made by the same company that makes Nutrisource. And he said, man, try it. Everybody around here loves it. All the locals feed it, the houndsmen, everything else. Like, just try it. Save yourself some money. It's $27.50 for a 50-pound bag. I'm paying $41 for a 40-pound bag of Nutrisource.
Right.
So I told him, okay, I'll try it. I'm just getting into it. But so far, I don't see any negative effects from it. I'm just switching all my dogs over. They're at like a 50-50 ratio right now.
Right.
So, but I am seeing a difference in their stool just with that 50-50.
Okay.
So that's always an option. And like I said, that's $27.50 a bag. That's what he charges me for 50 pounds. Nice.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So when it comes to raw, what's your usual, like, what do you throw in the bowl? Like, I mean, I've done, like, the chicken leg quarters, ground beef, couple of blueberries, a raw egg.
I try to do, if I'm going full on raw, which I used to do a lot of that with the hounds because they work and work and work and work. Mm-hmm. So if I'm specifically, like, say I'm going to work Squirtle and my little pup off of Swiper and Nova for the next 6 months hard, I'll switch them over. And what I do is I go on a prey model, like a prey style raw. So you want a couple different types of protein. I'll use the fattiest raw ground beef I can find, which is like 70-30. Okay. Right. 30% fat. I'll use some of that. I try and stay away from chicken as much as possible, believe it or not.
Really? Why is that?
Dogs, it seems like, at least in this breed, because I don't think there's enough regularity, not enough consistency in it. I noticed some of these dogs will eventually develop a chicken allergy. It's weird, but I do. I mean, I'm not going to say I stay away from it completely because I do use chicken feet for calcium for bone. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But I'll use what I'll usually use is beef, fish. And then you do secreting organs, muscle organs, so heart, lungs, tripe, liver, throw some eggs in there, broccoli. I always cut it with some vegetables too. Broccoli's a good one. Cooked sweet potatoes, stuff like that. Cabbage leaves, a little bit of spinach.
Yeah.
raw eggs. This is one thing. There's a recent study done. You do not want to give your dogs raw egg every single day. So scrambling them up real quick doesn't hurt a bit.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You know, but yeah, I mean, I try and go with what's called a prey model raw diet. The calcium, the bone is very important. If you get turkey necks, I have a place 2 hours away where I can go get a 30-pound case of turkey necks for like $25. I use that a lot for calcium for bone. But even if I do, and a lot of people have different opinions on this, I supplement their kibble with raw. Even if I'm just like, we're going to work dogs semi hard. All these dogs are working, so I'm going to give them, like, I'll throw 3/4 of a pound of that fatty raw ground beef in with their kibble every single day. Okay. And it seems to just give them an extra boost of nutrients, an extra boost of energy. The fat helps. It seems to get them to glisten a little more. And honestly, they think they're getting treated up. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. No doubt.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a firm believer in adding a little raw to everything. Now, obviously, if you're in a warmer state, where you get long summers, long warm weather, you have to keep up with your deworming as you're feeding, raw as well. And the one thing I'm gonna tell everybody about the raw, if you're feeding raw, freeze the shit for 3 weeks. Make sure you freeze it. I do at least 2 weeks, but 3 weeks is safe. It'll kill all the bacteria, everything. I also feed a lot of venison, as I'm sure everybody knows. There's deer everywhere.
So do you feed the meat frozen straight to them?
I'll unthaw it first, and I just throw it in the sink overnight. It's thawed out the next morning. Boom, you break it up. As far as the premix stuff, if you guys are anywhere, any of you guys listening are around Georgia, you can look up Blue Ridge Beef. They offer pre-mixed stuff, and they have vendors all over the Southeast. There's a couple up here, Ohio, and they offer a pre-mixed thing. There's different variables. They have like a puppy mix, a breeder's choice, a tripe mix. There's tons of them, and I've been buying cases of that lately. It's very affordable. A lot of it's under $2 a pound.
Wow.
Yeah, and if you look at it that way, you're paying more than $1 a pound for kibble.
Right, yeah, for sure. For your average kibble, it's $40-$50 for a 40-pound bag.
Yeah, these guys are paying $60. Yeah, they're paying $60 for 40 pounds of Purina right now. That's $1.50 a pound. If I'm paying $1.50 a pound for kibble, I'm not feeding kibble anymore. I'm going to go ahead and jump up to the $2 a pound for raw, and I'll buy another deep freeze.
Right. Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
So, I mean, it's healthier. Believe it or not, the stool decomposes faster. Clean, like they actually shit less. There's tons of benefits to feeding raw versus kibble. But again, it's not everybody's. It's not everybody's priority to do that. Some people can't do it. They don't have the room. They don't have the ability to get the stuff to feed them an adequate raw diet. I mean, there's a million different variables, but if it's at all possible, I mean, I like feeding raw.
All right, that's good to know. Is there anything you wanted to add before we hop off?
I mean, as a whole, I think this community, honestly, I'm not saying this to be like sarcastic or a dickhead or anything, but I think it lacks really overall leadership. Honestly, to everybody listening, try and find the guy that is a dog man to look up to as a mentor. Don't go for the marketer. Just because a man markets his dogs correctly and produces, puppies that take good pictures and stuff does not make him a dog man. That does not give him a solid product. Mm-hmm. References. I like me myself. I have on IG and on Facebook, like I have group chats with like 40, 50 customers in them. And when somebody asks me, I just say, listen, I'm going to let you ask my customers and you can base your own opinion on it, and I add them to that group chat and let them all discuss what they want to discuss after they're done asking me questions. You know what I mean?
Right.
Productions matter.
Yeah.
They really do a lot. And I understand that there are some people who are starting out who are genuinely great fucking people, great people with good heads on their shoulders, and they just lack a little bit of knowledge, but they're trying. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying don't believe in those people, because some of those people will be super successful and they are great people. But along the same lines, you know, you have to be real with yourself. Like I said before, you know, don't call up to all the customers. Don't call up a man or message him and say how much, you know, or I want that puppy. Do your research. Ask what traits. This is a kick, and this is just from a buyer's end, and I want everybody to listen to this very carefully. Do not tell him or her what you're looking for. Okay, you ask that person, what traits do your dogs carry, personality-wise, temperament-wise, everything like that, and then tell them, well, this is what I'm looking for after they tell you. You know, because 90% of these guys are just used car salesmen, and if you tell them, I want a big boned 140-pound dog, and it's got to be a couch potato and this, that, and the other thing. Oh, what do you know? I got 10 of them here.
Right. They'll tell you whatever you want to hear.
Yeah. So do your due diligence as a customer. Be prepared to spend some money if you want one of these dogs. They are, if you're buying from a true reputable breeder who actually appreciates what he's doing with his time and with his dogs, you're going to spend anywhere from $3,000 to $10,000 depending on what you want.
Right.
You know, go see the dogs. If at all possible, go to the breeder's yard that you are trying to buy from or actually looking at, maybe purchasing from. Physically go there and look at their dogs. If they will not let you come and see their facility, man, just walk away.
Yeah. Run away.
You know? Yeah.
Run the other direction. Yeah, I totally agree.
I've always had an open door policy. I mean, I have people that'll be cruising through. Well, like 2 months ago, a guy that I knew from down by you, actually, well, he was in South Carolina. He was just coming through.
That's where I'm at. I'm in South Carolina.
Oh, are you? I thought you were in North Carolina for some reason.
Yeah, no, I want to go to North Carolina. We've taken vacations there. We went to the mountains and rented some cabins there. That's probably where you saw the videos from. Me and the wife took vacations. But yeah, North Carolina, if I have an option to relocate one day, man, that's God's country right there. Those mountains. Oh my goodness. I fell in love. I said, if I ever come into some money like that, where I can like just up and move the family. Yeah, that's where we're going. Yeah,
it is beautiful.
Oh my goodness. The Smokies, man. It is another world. I just want to disappear into the woods. Let me do my 2-3 days a week doing my internet stuff when I actually got to upload and post pictures and all that. Other than that, I'm going back to my woods with no Wi-Fi connection. Leave me alone. Yep. We get big dogs and AR-15s.
That's how I feel about the cabin in northern Michigan too, man. It's God's country. Just you in the wilderness, you know.
Yeah, that's it. And the cool thing is like my dogs never have to be leashed up there. Like they just absolutely cruise with me, you know, whatever we're doing, they're just like, yeah, let's rock, let's go, you know. Yeah. This year we want to bring the kids in July. Yeah, one day.
It's beautiful. I love the great outdoors, man. There's not like it.
Nothing like it.
But yeah, man. I mean, I just, as far as the customers go, like I was saying, I had a fella cruising through, and he made a Facebook post, and he's actually got a pup from me. And I told him, I'm like, are you coming through here? And he's like, where are you at again? And I sent him, you know, I was like, I'm over here. And he's like, man, I can. And I'm like, well, if you got time, man, stop in. Just let me know what time you're going to be there. I'll bounce out of work. I'll come over there. And he called me up and he said, I'm 2 hours away. Will that work? And I said, yeah, man, I'll make it work. But don't be mad. I ain't cleaned the kennel since this morning, you know? And he's like, man, I don't care, you know? Right. And I was like, then you're welcome. You know what I mean? Yeah. And he come over, you know, seeing all the unedited version of me, my setup, everything. Like, not saying I edit anything, but you know what I mean? Like, right. you just come and experience it. You know what I mean? Got to put hands on all the dogs, met his dog's parents, you know, had a great time. And that's always been my policy. Everybody's like, oh, somebody will come steal your dogs. Man, if that's the people you're hanging out with, you better check yourself before you check your dogs. Right. Yeah, so, for sure. I mean, as far as customers go, me, myself, and I prefer my customers to come pick. If at all possible, I will always allow a customer to come check out my dogs. I will always allow them to come pick up a pup in person. I will always allow all of that. Right. You know, and I feel that if you're paying me $4,000 to $15,000 for a puppy, man, I owe you. The least I can do is give you my time. Right. You know, come hang out with me. Hell, I'll take you to dinner. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's right. It totally. Don't bother me. Yeah, you're creating a bond with a person by spending that type of money with them and trusting them to give you a family member. Like, I feel as though I owe you that bit of compassion. Pick my brain. Anything you want to know, man, ask me. You know what I mean? I'd rather you ask me than somebody else. So I feel there's a big lack of compassion, a big lack of just human respect in this community, and that's what I feel all customers should look for.
For sure. I agree 100%. I appreciate you jumping on, man. It's great talking to you. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. I got some running I got to do tomorrow, but I'm sure we can get together this week. I'm home all week with these pups. This week will be my last week home. Weaning these pups off, and then I got a litter turn a week old. I like to stay home, and especially when I got 2 litters, I'll take off and sit and make sure everybody's good and out of the danger zone. You know what I mean? Right.
Well, I mean, hell, why don't we do? I mean, this one will be released Friday. Why don't we link up while you're home this week? We'll go ahead and get a part 2 out of the way.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Just hit me up. We'll figure it out. I'll shoot you a text. We'll iron it out for next week sometime. I'll know more of my next week's schedule Sunday and Monday if I got anything, going on. I know I kind of got a hectic day on Monday running around customers, this, that, and the other thing. But I don't think I really got much going on at the end of the week other than I got to run to Ohio one night.
Okay.
Other than that, we can definitely work it out and we can figure it out.
All right, man. Well, hey, man, it was a pleasure, man, and God bless you. I really appreciate it.
Definitely. I appreciate it. I'm humbled you asked me to do it. And I will zip you over some pictures tonight, and we can work that part of it out, too.
All right, man. Talk soon.
Awesome. I appreciate it, Eric. Have a good day.
You too, brother. Peace.
Bye.